Mommy, are you crying? That was the first thing my daughter asked me while I was lying on a hospital floor at 2:13 in the morning, curled around pain so sharp I couldn't breathe. And the worst part? My parents had already said no. No to helping. No to coming over. No to watching their granddaughter for one night because they had Taylor Swift tickets. By sunrise, my appendix had ruptured. By sunset, I had decided they would never have access to my life again. My name is Fiona. I'm 34 years old. And this is the story of the night I stopped saving my family. Welcome back to Relaxing Drama Stories. I used to believe emergencies revealed who loved you most. Now I know they reveal who's been using you all along. My daughter Lily was 8 when this happened. She slept with one sock on and one sock off because she claimed her feet liked balance. She drew tiny smiley faces on bananas before school. And every Friday night, she insisted we eat popcorn on the living room floor while watching. Our life wasn't glamorous, but it was peaceful. At least I thought it was. I worked remotely as a project coordinator for a medical software company. Long hours, constant deadlines, but stable, reliable. The kind of job that lets you survive without asking anyone for help. That mattered to me, because my parents had spent my entire adulthood reminding me that help always came with conditions. My mother, Denise, believed love was measured in obedience. My father, Gary, believed silence solved everything. Together, they created a family culture where appearances mattered more than honesty. If something hurt you, smile through it. If someone disappointed you, pretend they didn't. If family crossed a line, well, they're still family. I heard that sentence my whole life, especially after my divorce. Lily's father disappeared emotionally long before the paperwork finalized. The marriage ended quietly.
No screaming. No dramatic betrayal.
Just years of me carrying everything until one day I realized I was carrying him too. My parents acted supportive publicly. Privately, they treated my divorce like a stain. Something embarrassing. Something I should have worked harder to hide. But I survived it. Actually, I did more than survive. I rebuilt. I bought a small townhouse. I created routines for Lily. I paid every bill myself. I hosted every Thanksgiving because my mother said my house felt warmer. I drove my father to appointments when his blood pressure spiked. I helped my younger brother Ethan with rent twice. 3 times, technically. I edited my cousin Rachel's resume for 6 hours because she said I was better with words. I planned birthday dinners.
Bought gifts.
Remembered anniversaries. Sent sympathy flowers. Checked in on everyone. And somewhere along the way, I became the emotional support beam holding the entire family upright. Nobody noticed because I never complained. That was my first mistake. People get comfortable standing on your back if you never tell them it hurts. The night everything collapsed started with stomach pain. At first I ignored it. Single mothers don't really have the luxury of falling apart dramatically. I made Lily dinner, helped with homework, packed tomorrow's lunch, answered 2 late work emails. Then around 11:30, the pain sharpened. It felt like someone twisting a knife slowly inside my abdomen. I barely slept. By 1:30 in the morning, I was sweating through my shirt. Lily woke up because she heard me vomiting. I remember her little face standing in the hallway. Messy hair. Half asleep.
Scared.
Mommy. I forced a smile. I'm okay, baby. I wasn't okay. At 2:05, I finally called my parents. I still remember every second of that conversation, because betrayal burns details into your memory. My mother answered, sounding irritated. Do you know what time it is? I was shaking from pain. I think something's wrong. I need to go to the ER. Can you come stay with Lily? Silence. Then a sigh. Tonight? Yes, tonight. Another pause. Then she lowered her voice like I was inconveniencing her personally. Fiona, your father and I are leaving early tomorrow morning. I gripped the kitchen counter so hard my fingers cramped. What does that have to do with Lily? We have those Taylor Swift tickets. At first, I honestly thought she was joking. I even laughed a little. Then I realized she wasn't laughing. You can't be serious. Those tickets cost $1,800. I stared at the wall, the pain in my stomach suddenly competing with something colder, something heavier. Mom, I whispered, I might need surgery. My father's voice appeared faintly in the background. Tell her urgent care exists. I closed my eyes. I need someone to watch your granddaughter. My mother sounded annoyed now. Can't you call one of your little mom friends? Little mom friends, like the women who'd helped me survive divorce, were somehow beneath family. I swallowed hard. It's 2 a.m, and we have a once-in-a-lifetime concert tomorrow. That sentence changed something inside me permanently. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like a door locking. I looked down the hallway at Lily. She was hugging her stuffed rabbit, watching me, waiting for adults to act like adults. My mother kept talking. You always wait until the last second for everything. That did it. I hung up.
No yelling. No crying.
Just silence. Then I called an overnight pediatric nurse service. A woman named Carla answered. Calm voice. Professional. Within 30 minutes, she agreed to come stay with Lily until my emergency contact from school could arrive in the morning. A stranger. A literal stranger showed more compassion than my own parents. I left instructions on the counter. Medication information. School drop-off notes. Emergency numbers. Then I kissed Lily's forehead. She touched my cheek. You look scared. I nearly broke right there. But mothers learn how to shatter quietly.
I'm okay, you whispered.
Another lie. At the hospital, they rushed me into imaging almost immediately. Appendix rupture. Emergency surgery. Risk of infection. The nurse asked if someone was coming. I stared at the ceiling for a long moment before answering.
No.
That tiny word tasted humiliating. The surgery itself blurred together. Bright lights. Consent forms. Cold air. Voices echoing. But I remember waking afterward. I remember the emptiness. Not one missed call from my parents. Not one text. Not even from Ethan. Carla, the nurse, had sent updates about Lily sleeping safely. My mother had posted Instagram photos of friendship bracelets 3 hours later. I wish I were exaggerating. The caption said, Making memories. 2 heart sparkles. I stared at that post from a hospital bed with Info in my arm. And suddenly years of buried resentment rose to the surface all at once. Every holiday I hosted while sick. Every favor repaid with criticism. Every moment I minimized my pain so others could stay comfortable. I started remembering things differently. Like the Christmas after my divorce, when I cooked dinner with bronchitis because my mother said canceling would look depressing. Or the time Ethan borrowed money and bought concert tickets the same week. Or when my father forgot Lily's school recital but remembered his golf trip perfectly. Tiny betrayals. Stacked for years. Death by paper cuts disguised as family dynamics. On the second day in recovery, my Aunt Marie called. Not because she heard from my parents, because Carla mentioned the situation while coordinating Lily's pickup. My aunt sounded horrified. They left you alone? I laughed weakly. It was Taylor Swift. Marie went silent. Then, oh, honey, nearly made me cry harder than the surgery pain. Because compassion feels shocking when you've gone too long without it. By day 3, word had spread quietly through extended family. And suddenly my parents were spinning narratives. Apparently, I was overreacting. Apparently, they didn't realize it was serious. Apparently, I had become cold and dramatic. Interesting how people rewrite history when truth threatens their image. My mother finally texted, Hope you're feeling better. Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be. I read it 6 times. Then I blocked her. Not impulsively. Not emotionally. Methodically. Like removing broken glass from skin. Then my father. Then Ethan. Then the family group chat. Silence flooded in afterward. Beautiful silence. Terrifying silence. Healing silence. I expected guilt. Instead, I felt lighter. That scared me most, because relief means something has been hurting you for a very long time. When I got home from the hospital, Lily climbed carefully into bed beside me. She touched the bandage gently. Did Grandma come see you? Children ask questions like arrows. Straight to the center.
No.
Why? How do you explain emotional abandonment to an 8-year-old without poisoning her heart? I chose honesty without cruelty. Sometimes adults make selfish choices. She nodded slowly, like she understood more than she should. Then she whispered, I'm glad Carla stayed with me. Me too. Over the next week, my parents escalated. First came guilt, then anger, then performance. My mother left voicemails crying dramatically about how I was tearing the family apart. Interesting accusation considering she refused to drive 15 minutes during a medical emergency. My father emailed me. Families forgive each other. No apology attached. Just expectation. Ethan texted from a new number. Mom's devastated. You're punishing everyone over one mistake. One mistake. Funny how lifelong patterns suddenly become one mistake once consequences arrive. I ignored all of it. Instead, I started documenting. Screenshots, call logs, voicemails, social media timestamps, texts. Not because I planned revenge. Because for the first time in my life, I wanted proof. People like my parents survive by rewriting reality. I was done participating. Then something happened that pushed everything over the edge. 3 weeks after surgery, Lily came home quiet. Too quiet. I found her sitting on the stairs holding a folded piece of paper. What's wrong? She hesitated, then handed it to me. It was a note from my mother. Apparently Denise had approached Lily during school pickup through another relative. The note read, Tell your mommy Grandma cries every night because she hates us now. I felt actual rage. Not irritation. Not sadness. Rage. Because involving my child meant the line had finally disappeared completely. That night, I contacted a lawyer. Not for money. Not for drama. For boundaries. A formal cease and desist regarding unwanted contact through my daughter. The lawyer asked gently, Are you sure you want to do this? I looked at Lily coloring quietly in the waiting area. Yes. People think boundaries are emotional explosions. Most of the time, they're paperwork. The letter was delivered on a Thursday. By Friday afternoon, extended family started calling nonstop. Apparently, my mother was devastated, humiliated, crying to everyone, telling people I'd become mentally unstable. That accusation almost made me laugh. Because women become unstable the moment they stop absorbing mistreatment politely. Then came the invitation. Sunday dinner. My Aunt Marie's house. Entire family attending. Marie called carefully. You don't have to come. I know, but people are talking. I stared at my dining table, at the folder beside me. The folder holding screenshots, timelines, receipts, unpaid loans, text records, and years of carefully buried truth. For the first time in my life, I didn't want peace. I wanted clarity. I'll be there, I said. And for the first time in years, I wasn't coming to keep the family together. I was coming to let it fall apart. Sunday dinner at Aunt Marie's house always smelled like rosemary and butter. As a kid, that smell meant safety to me. Warm bread, loud laughter, adults pretending life was simpler than it really was. But the night I walked through her front door with a legal folder tucked under my arm, the entire room felt different. Heavy.
Tight.
Like everyone already knew a storm was coming, but hoped good manners could stop it. My name is Fiona. I'm 34 years old. And this was the night my family finally realized silence is not forgiveness. Lily stayed with Carla that evening. I didn't want her anywhere near what was about to happen. The second I entered the dining room, conversation slowed. My mother sat stiffly beside my father. Perfect makeup. Pearl earrings. The performance version of grief. Ethan stood near the kitchen island pretending to scroll his phone. My cousin Rachel avoided eye contact entirely. Only Aunt Marie looked relieved to see me. She hugged me carefully because of the surgery. You look pale, she whispered. I feel clear. That surprised even me, because for weeks I'd expected anger to consume me. Instead, I felt calm, like I'd already mourned the version of my family I used to believe existed. My mother spoke first. Oh, thank God. Not "how are you?" Not "I'm sorry." Just relief that I showed up. As if attendance alone solved everything. She stood dramatically. "We've all been worried sick." I almost laughed. Instead, I pulled out my chair and sat down quietly. "You didn't seem worried when I was in the hospital." The room froze. Forks paused. Eyes shifted downward. My father cleared his throat. "Do we really need to do this here?" "Yes," I said softly. "We do. People always want accountability privately. That way the truth stays manageable. Contained. Easy to deny later. Not this time." Dinner started awkwardly. Small talk limped around the table like an injured animal. Aunt Marie tried discussing weather. Rachel mentioned work. Nobody relaxed, because everyone knew we weren't there to eat. Finally, my mother set her napkin down dramatically. "I don't understand why you're punishing us like this." There it was. Not concern. Not regret. Victimhood. I looked at her carefully. "You refused to help me during a medical emergency. We didn't know your appendix would rupture. I told you I needed the R. You were emotional." That word. Emotional. Funny how pain becomes irrational once it inconveniences someone selfish. My father jumped in quickly. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I opened the folder beside me. Paper sounds are surprisingly loud in silent rooms. "I don't think I am." My mother's expression shifted slightly. Confusion. Then caution. I removed the first page. Hospital admission time. 2:41 a.m. Second page. Outgoing call logs. My parents' number highlighted. Third page. Timestamp screenshots from my mother's Instagram story at the concert. I slid them gently across the table.
No yelling.
No dramatic speech. Just facts. My Aunt Marie stared at the timestamps and blinked slowly. "Oh my God." My mother's face flushed red instantly. "You went through my social media? You posted publicly. That's invasive." Interesting. Not abandoning your daughter during surgery. Not abandoning your granddaughter overnight. The invasive part was screenshots. Ethan finally spoke. "Okay, but this has become obsessive." I turned toward him calmly. "You borrowed $4,000 from me last year." His face changed immediately. "What does that have to do with this?" "You called me obsessive after ignoring every repayment message for 11 months. Rachel looked sharply toward him. "You never paid her back?" Ethan shifted in his chair. "I was going to." I pulled another page from the folder. Bank transfers.
Dates.
Messages promising repayment after bonuses that mysteriously never arrived. My mother looked horrified. Not at Ethan. At me. At the exposure. Families like ours survive on selective memory. Documentation feels like betrayal because it prevents revision. "This is unbelievable," she whispered. "No," I said quietly. "What's unbelievable is that I spent years protecting all of you from accountability." My father's jaw tightened. "You're acting cruel." That almost broke my composure. Cruel. The woman recovering from emergency surgery was cruel. Not the parents who refused childcare for a concert. I leaned back slowly. "You know what cruel felt like?" Nobody answered. Cruel felt like waking up after surgery alone. Silence. Cruel felt like my daughter asking why her grandparents didn't come. My mother's eyes watered instantly. Weaponized tears. I'd fallen for them my entire life. "Not anymore." "You have no idea how hurt I've been," she whispered. I nodded once. "I believe you." That seemed to confuse her. Because people expect resistance, not calm agreement. Then I added, "But your feelings stopped mattering more than my safety the moment you chose concert tickets over your family." My father slammed his hand lightly against the table. "That's unfair." "No," Aunt Marie said suddenly. "It really isn't." Everyone turned toward her. She rarely challenged anyone, especially not my parents. Marie looked exhausted. I stayed up with Fiona at the hospital after Carla called me. My mother looked stunned. You never told us that. Marie gave a bitter laugh. You never asked. That landed hard. The room shifted after that. Tiny fractures becoming visible. Rachel crossed her arms slowly. I honestly thought Fiona exaggerated. I slid the note from my mother across the table. The note she gave Lily. Rachel read it first. Then Ethan. Then Aunt Marie. Nobody spoke.
My mother looked panicked now.
That wasn't manipulation. It was addressed to my 8-year-old daughter. She needed to know I was hurting. No, I said evenly. She needed to feel safe. My voice stayed calm. That frightened them more than screaming would have. Because anger can be dismissed. Calm truth cannot. My father rubbed his forehead. What do you actually want from us? For years, I would have answered differently. An apology. Effort. Recognition.
Love.
But surgery changes things. Pain clarifies. I looked around the table slowly. I want distance. My mother inhaled sharply. You can't mean that.
Ida.
You'd cut off your own parents? You already showed me what staying connected costs. That sentence settled over the room like dust. Heavy. Final. My mother began crying harder. Not quiet tears.
Performative sobbing.
The kind designed to redirect attention. Normally, I would have comforted her automatically. That conditioning runs deep. Instead, I sat still. And for the first time in my entire life, nobody rushed to rescue her either. Not even my father. That silence mattered. Because once people witness the truth clearly, they struggle to unsee it. Ethan stood abruptly. So that's it? You destroy the family over one bad night. I looked directly at him.
No.
I stopped carrying it. That shut him up completely. Because deep down, everyone there knew it was true. I had carried birthdays, arguments, financial emergencies, holiday planning, emotional labor. Every invisible responsibility nobody notices until it disappears. And the second I stopped, everything started collapsing. My mother wiped her eyes angrily. You always thought you were better than us. That one hurt, because it revealed how she interpreted boundaries. Not self-protection. Superiority. I shook my head slowly.
No.
I just finally realized being needed isn't the same as being loved. Nobody moved. Even the kitchen clock sounded loud.
Tick, tick, tick.
Then something unexpected happened. Rachel spoke quietly. She's right. My mother stared at her. Rachel swallowed hard. You do expect Fiona to fix everything. Denise looked betrayed instantly. You too. Rachel laughed weakly. You called me 3 times crying after the cease and desist.
She paused.
But you never once asked how Fiona recovered from surgery. Another crack.
Small. Sharp. Real.
My father looked suddenly older. Tired. Like years of avoiding conflict had finally caught up to him. We made a mistake, he admitted quietly. I waited. But the apology never came. Because admitting harm and taking responsibility are different things entirely. Instead, he added, but families move on. There it was again. The family motto. Move on. Translate that phrase properly, and it means absorb the damage quietly so everyone else stays comfortable. I closed the folder carefully.
No.
My mother frowned. No what? No more moving on without accountability. Then I stood slowly despite the soreness in my abdomen. I looked at each of them one at a time. I spent years proving my love through usefulness. My voice trembled slightly now. Not from fear. From exhaustion. I answered every emergency. Paid every loan. Hosted every holiday. Babysat everyone's emotions. I looked at my parents directly. And when I needed one night of help, you chose a concert. Nobody interrupted. Because there was nothing left to defend. I picked at my coat. My mother's voice cracked desperately. So you're just leaving us? I paused near the doorway. And for a second, I saw it clearly. Not villains. Not monsters. Just deeply selfish people who never believed I would stop tolerating it. That realization changed everything. Because once people realize access to you is conditional, panic replaces entitlement. I answered honestly. I already left. The surgery just made me notice. Then I walked out. No dramatic music.
No screaming. No cinematic ending.
Just cold night air and the sound of a door closing softly behind me. I sat in my car afterward for almost 10 minutes. Not crying. Not shaking. Just breathing. The strange thing about lifelong emotional exhaustion is that peace feels unfamiliar at first. Like wearing silence after years of noise. Over the next few months, my family fractured exactly the way I always feared they would. Only now I understood something important. I was never the glue. I was the tape covering the cracks. Once removed, the damage became visible. My mother kept trying indirect contact at first. Birthday cards, emails, long emotional messages through relatives. I didn't respond. Not because I hated her. Because boundaries lose meaning if guilt can reopen them. My father attempted neutrality. Random articles. Weather updates. Photos of the dog. Avoiding the actual issue entirely. Classic Gary. Ethan finally repaid part of the money after Aunt Marie confronted him publicly. Apparently accountability spreads once someone starts telling the truth out loud. And Lily? She changed too. Children noticed peace quickly. She laughed more. Slept easier. Stopped asking nervous questions before family gatherings. One night while we made popcorn, she looked at me seriously and said, "You don't look tired anymore." That nearly destroyed me, because I hadn't realized how visible my exhaustion had become. Months later, I passed a stadium downtown packed with people attending another major concert. Crowds laughing. Friendship bracelets everywhere. And unexpectedly, I smiled. Not bitterly, just knowingly. Because $1,800 didn't destroy my family. The concert simply exposed what was already broken. People ask if I regret cutting contact. Sometimes. Grief doesn't disappear just because boundaries are necessary. I miss the fantasy of who I wanted my parents to be. I miss the idea of unconditional family. I miss believing emergencies automatically create love. But I don't miss begging people to care. That part matters. Healing isn't becoming emotionless. It's learning your pain deserves witnesses too. If someone only values you when you're useful, that isn't love. It's dependency wearing a family costume. And the hardest lesson I ever learned was this. The people who truly love you will never make you earn compassion from a hospital bed. Thank you for listening to Relaxing Drama Stories. And if this story stayed with you, remember, sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is stop holding together people who would never hold them.